All hail to the kings, cause we living in hell. Trying to manifest dreams, but some don't let it prevail. Could fall victim to the streets and some ain't living to tell. Either they body in a box or they sit in a cell. But keep fighting, staying focused, make getting ahead likely. My head right, I'm moving too heavy to tread lightly. I'm empowered by the love, it could keep us both lifted. So I don't want your flowers if you never rose with me. Niggas use 2 lips like 4/5 to bury you. Crucify what's yours and assassinate your character. I'm bulletproof, that's why they try to murder the frame. Cause you can't be buried no matter how much dirt on your name. I felt the pain and I've been through the flames and made a change. Switch lanes and everything that remains wasn't the same. And I'm still taking aim till my shots run out. To find peace before my clock run out. Without a doubt, it's a war zone, it can leave you dead inside. Good versus evil, it get lethal when they heads collide. How can you feed your soul if you never fed your mind? How can you feel alive, nigga, if you scared to die? This a war zone, it can leave you dead inside. Good versus evil, it get lethal when they heads collide. How can you feed your soul if you never fed your mind? How can you feel alive, nigga, if you scared to die? In this world you gotta be thorough, don't be walking clueless. This a war zone, but I ain't talking Call of Duty. And if you think this shit a game, you just a target moving, influenced by money, drugs, and fame. It could all seduce you, stay grounded. Too many drowning in the damage that was done. So many L's to the face, it's hard to tell they ever won. But when shit hit the fan, you gotta stand and not succumb. Gotta learn to use your hands and be a man without your gun. What your life like, you gotta be prepared for the right fight. We dying slow when they buying souls at the right price. Days full of rage bring pain in your nightlife. You lose all your darkness when you walk into that white light. I stay protected cause I'm one of a kind. With the army of the divine and ain't none of us blind. All is fair, life or death, it'll come in due time. But just survive, analyze what's in front of your eyes. Cause it's a war zone, it can leave you dead inside. Good versus evil, it get lethal when they heads collide. How can you feed your soul if you never fed your mind? How can you feel alive, nigga, if you scared to die? This a war zone, it can leave you dead inside. Good versus evil, it get lethal when they heads collide. How can you feed your soul if you never fed your mind? How can you feel alive, nigga, if you scared to die?
I'm ready.
I look these cowards in the eyes, I can see they soft. Trying to convince them to be real, I suffered full exhaust. I started out as a worker, somehow became the boss. Born with it, certain qualities they can't be taught. I look death in the eyes, I'm still here, so death lost. Loyalty orientated, my fam I never cross. At times I'm better off, individually standing. Conspiracy increased potential for the fans to can me. Mama don't understand me, my reward ain't worth the chances. Neither is hers, taking out loans and cash advances. No one's perfect, that's granted. If I complain, I'm ranting. Fuck that, I took a key and made my own self-enhancements.
You wouldn't understand it, fucked up circumstances. And sell the court in their kitchen, my nigga working magic. And all I talk is love and war. But my family, my homies is who I does it for. Cut these niggas no slack since they cut the cord. I've been working more, a bitch ain't what I'm searching for. Treat my hoes bad, yeah, karma might just curse me for it. Thirsty ass worse, I'm more, probably have my first little boy. I'm just strapped up, got a Magnum 2 and a box of Magnums in my Magnum 2. A stack of cash all in my trues, a couple fast little cool. You got a bad bitch in the city, I'm probably smashing her too. Only difference is you playing house, I pass to the crew. I represent the real niggas, Quantic Cash do too. About time niggas start rapping about what they actually do. How you the truth and you don't take one fact in the booth.
Some niggas talk down about me, but you ain't talking about a goddamn thing. Cause the slander you spew is just whoop-de-woo to eyes that have you, realness and crew. So when I tell you believe me, you ain't talking about a goddamn mission. I'm not just about love songs and pictures. You ain't talking about a goddamn thing.
Cash I got left to bet it all on myself before I ask for some help. Sometimes I just don't feel like being bothered with none of these hoes. Like how I used to answer my phone if it wasn't 100 or more. I got up off my ass, posted up in front of the stove. In the rap game, feel like my .4. Yeah, I got a deal if you wanna know. Come get these 2 1/4 for 2,100. Oh, I rolled up all of my pain inside this blunt of dro. You don't even wanna know, it was all good a month ago. Until the day I'm departed, I'ma be real. The same way that I started, so I'm just putting my hood up for Trayvon Martin.
I run this place and I've begun this race. Must I rerun this pace? I'm the reason it's become this way, and their love for it is the reason I have become this praise. They love my darkness, I've made them heartless, and in return they have become my martyrs. I've been in the poem of many a poet, and I reside in the art of many an artist. Some of your smartest have tried to articulate my whole partnerness, but they're fruitless in their harvest. The dro grows from my footsteps. I'm the one that they follow. I am the one that they march with. Through the back alleys and the black markets, the Oval Offices, the crack houses and apartments. Through the mazes of the queens, the pages of the sages, and the chambers of the kings. Through the veins of the fiends, a paper chases pages, yo, I'm famous on the scene. One of the oldest, most ancientest things, speak every single language on the planet, yeah, I mean. I am the American dream, the rape of Africa, the undying machine, the overpriced medicine, the murderous regime, the tough guys front and the one behind the scene. I am the blood of this city, it's gas, water, and electricity. I'm its gem and its math and its history, the gunshots in the class, and you can't pass if you missing G. I taught them better than that. I taught them aim for the head and hope they never come back. I'm glad your daddy's gone, baby, hope he never comes back. I hope he's with your mother, with my hustlers high in my trap. I hope you die in this trash. I can't help it, all I hear when you crying is laughs. I'm sure somebody find you tied in this bag behind the hospital little baby crack addicts had. Then maybe you can grow up and be a stripper, a welfare receiving prostitute and gold digger. You can watch on TV how they should properly depict you. The rivers shall flow with liquors, quench your thirst on my elixirs. I am the safe haven for the rebel runaway and the resistor, the trusted misleader, the #1 defender. And from a throne of their bones I rule. These fools are my fuel, so I make them cool. Baptize them in the water out of Scarface pool, and feed them from the table that held the Corleone's food. If you die, tell them that you played my game. I hope your bullet holes become mouths that say my name, 'cause I'm the Aggravated without it. My saddest days are without it. My Saturdays are the loudest, blowing strong. Some niggas graduated powder. I dabble later, I doubt it. My database of narcotics growing long. But I'm aggravated without it. My saddest days are without it. My Saturdays are the loudest, blowing strong. Some niggas graduated powder. I dabble later, I doubt it. My database of narcotics growing long. Blame it on the rain, Milli Vanilli with the disc skip. What I'm trying to say is the blame can go deep as seas. Just to blame them all, I would need like 20 CDs. There's all sorts of trauma from drama that children see. Type of shit that normally would call for therapy. But you know just how it go in our community. Keep that shit inside, it don't matter how hard it be. Fast forward, them kids is grown and they blowing trees. And popping pills due to chronic anxiety. I've been saw the problem, but stay silent cause I ain't Jesus. This ain't no trial, if you desire, go higher please. But fuck that, now I'm older, I love you cause you my friend. Without the drugs, I want you to be comfortable in your skin. I know you, so I know you still keep a lot of shit in. You running from yourself and you buying product again. I know you say it helps and no, I'm not trying to offend. Copping another bag of smoke today. 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 Cop another bag of smoke today. Cop another bag of smoke today.
I'm willing to die for this shit. I done cried for this shit. Might take a life for this shit. Put the Bible down and go out for a knife for this shit. DOT, my enemy, won't catch a vibe for this shit. Ayy, I been stumped out in front of my mama. My daddy commissary made it to commas. Bitch, all my grandma's dead, so ain't nobody praying for me. I'm on your head. Ayy. 30 millions later, know the feds watching. Auntie on my telegram like, be cautious. I be hanging out in Thames, I be on Stockton. I don't do it for the gram, I do it for Compton. I'm willing to die for this shit, nigga. I take your fucking life for this shit, nigga. We ain't going back to broke, family selling dope. That's why you many-ass rap niggas better know.
Cop another bag of smoke today. 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 Aggravated without it. My saddest days are without it. My Saturdays are the loudest, blowing strong. Some niggas graduated powder. I dabble later, I doubt it. My database of narcotics growing long. But I'm aggravated without it. My saddest days are without it. My Saturdays are the loudest, blowing strong. Some niggas graduated powder. I dabble later, I doubt it. My database of narcotics growing long.
Peace. Grand Rising, Shalom, Emotep, Islam, all of your various greetings. I hope all is well with everybody today. I don't think this is going to be a long stream because I only have a, well, there are a lot more things that we could explore when it comes to this specific subject concerning the Epstein files. And as you can see on the screen, I do have the United States Department of Justice website up and ready to show you guys today's presentation. And I found something kind of interesting in these files. Typing in a keyword, and I really didn't expect to find this under this specific key phrase, but I'm glad I did. And needless to say, I haven't gone through it because the title alone I found intriguing of this document, and I figured that it would do us all, a good service for me to present it live, and we all can see it as it is for ourselves. Now, again, I didn't go through the document, but like I said, the title I found very intriguing, and without further ado, we're going to go through and type in the key word, the key phrase. And we're going to take a look at this document and examine it. And if you give me 1 second, let me grab my tablet right quick. Now, if you will, I dropped the link to the website in the chat. So if you don't mind, if you would like to follow along, click that link. Click that link in the chat. That leads you straight to the United States Department of Justice website via the Epstein Library, and you can follow along. But we're going to go there now, and we're going to scroll down. We're going to scroll down to the search bar. Search for Epstein Library. Now go to that search bar and type in yes, you're reading that right. Type in Puff Daddy. Before you go elsewhere thinking you may know what I'm about to reveal, this document, at least I don't think so, actually has anything to do with Puff Daddy, but nonetheless, this document was found under this key phrase. And we're going to hit search, and you're going to find 3 data set listings there. I specifically want to point out, I believe it was this, the third one. And it has the little preface at the bottom: rappers such as Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, and 50 Cent don't have absurdly lavish cribs with a 6-pack of sports cars because of what they like. And I kind of read that when I typed it in, but when I clicked on it, this is what I came across. And if you can see that, like, let me know in the chat if you can, see this. Some fire emojis, any type of sign, just let me know that everyone can hear me and they can see what's on the screen. And yes, you are seeing the title of this document correctly. It's called Evilicious, explaining our taste for excessive harm. Now to see who it's by, that's Mark D. Hauser, Viking/Penguin, whatever that means. But again, I have not gone through this. This, just like you all, would be our first time viewing this since I've come across it. But that title, that first page, which revealed the title, was the first thing I saw. And I found that it may be very useful for us to go through this and find out what this is about, because that is a very intriguing and forthcoming title. Hauser, my parents, friends, and reminded that life should be lived to its fullest. So let's go through this document and see what it's about. He quotes something from Plato: pleasure is the greatest incentive to evil. Another quote from Friedrich Nietzsche: to witness suffering does one good, to inflict it even more so. Wow. Another quote from William Golding: man produces evil as a bee produces honey. Again, if you missed it and you're just tuning in, this is what we're going over. I found this document typing in the Epstein files via the United States Department of Justice website, Puff Daddy. I typed Puff Daddy in the search bar. And the third link, there are 3 links provided. And the third link is what I clicked on. Now, mind you, I clicked on all three, but it was the third one that revealed this document. Now, moving on, let's get back to our spot where I was. There we go. So I think so far we have a pretty much an idea of where this may be. Obviously, someone thinks that what they call, quote, Evilicious is something they see as something good. And I would like to go through this to get some perspective. Because I do think this may be one of the documents that could be very revealing. And there may have been just short of a guarantee that most people wouldn't have found it because most people aren't looking. They're too busy going off of all of the mongering and stuff like that with your various social media content creators. They're going into a lot of the fear mongering and pictures of Epstein, this, that. I just really think all of the things that people are currently talking about concerning these files are totally irrelevant as it pertains to the meat and the fine details that are plain for all to see. But because it is, it's certainly hidden because most people don't tend to, find or look for things that are right in front of their face. And I learned this from my grandfather. Only a fool would act as such. Only a fool will overlook something as irrelevant that's directly in his face. So, and that's why they say the best way to hide something from a fool is to put it directly in his face. So, without further ado, let's read what we have on the screen. Dear reader, having lived in Uganda and spoken with people who escaped from the savagery of the brutal dictators, Milton Obote and Idi Amin. I don't know who those people are, but trust, know, and believe after today's presentation, I will be doing further research on the people listed and named in this document to give further insight. And it would behoove all of the listeners and viewers of today's stream to do the same as well. Take notes. Take notes. And leave no stone unturned, because I do have a saying as it pertains to epic studies. Study well. And that entails the fine details that you must pay attention to. But moving on, having heard stories of my father's childhood as a small hat, for some, I'm not going to say that term here, because I understand that YouTube has a problem with people using the J word. So I'm just going to say small hat. All right. Having heard stories of my father's childhood as a small hat running through Nazi occupied France and reading past and present day accounts of genocide, I am familiar with the horrors of evil. I have also been a student of human nature, trained as a scientist. These experiences have propelled me to study the causes of evil, attempt to make some progress in explaining it to myself and hopefully to you. There is a great urgency to understanding this problem. None of us can afford to passively watch millions of individuals lose their homes, children, and lives as a result of malice. Sloth is a sin, especially when we live in a world where cultures of evil can so easily erupt. I am also familiar with and deeply moved by human kindness, our capacity to reach out and help strangers. When my father was in boarding school in the south of France, hiding from the Nazis, a little girl approached him and asked him if he was a small hat. My father, conditioned by his parents to deny his background, said no. My father, conditioned by his parents to deny his background, said no. And that shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of you that understand one of the very first prerequisites, if you will, to operating in the society as a small hat. That is true. You are taught that even from a child to deny if confronted about it. But reading on, the girl, sensing doubt, said, well, if you are a small hat, you should know that the director of the school is handing small hat children over to the Nazis. My father promptly called his parents, who picked him up, moved him to another village and school, and survived to tell the story. This little girl expressed one of our species' signature capacities: the ability to show compassion for another person, even if their beliefs and desires are different. I agree with that. I think a lot of people need to take note to that right there. But in preparation for writing this book, the author, which is saying read transcripts and descriptions of thousands of horrific events, listened to personal stories of survivors from financial ruin and war, worked with abused children who were crucified by unfit parents, and watched both fictional films and documentaries that portrayed psychopaths, dictators of totalitarian regimes, and their hapless victims. As one often does in these circumstances, I developed a tougher skin over time, but I have never lost track of the human travesties that result from evil. As my father's story suggests, I have also not lost sight of the fact that we are a species that has done great good and will continue to do so in the future. Nonetheless, to provide a sound and satisfying explanation of evil, we must avoid falling into more romantic interpretations of the human condition. I agree with that. Our best protection is science. This is the position I will defend, I being the author. I read, um, let me see, where did I leave out? But I have never lost track of human Okay, as my father says, nevertheless, all right. Our best protection is science. This is the position I will defend. The topic of evil is massive. This is, however, a short book written without exhaustive references, in-depth descriptions of our atrocities, and comprehensive engagement with the many theories on offer to explain evil. What the author here offers is his own explanation of evil and how it evolved, how it develops within individuals, and how it affects the lives of millions of innocent victims. It is a minimalist explanation of evil that is anchored in the sciences. I believe, as do many scientists, that deep understanding of exceptionally complicated phenomena requires staking out a piece of theoretical real estate with only a few properties, putting to the side many interesting but potentially distracting details. This book extracts the core of evil, the part that generates all the variation that our history has cataloged and that our future holds, as told by the author. So I'm getting from what he reveals in his perspective here is that uh, he's outlining how evil works, how it, I guess you could say, puffs itself up in the hearts of men, takes root, and is developed over time. And with that, we're going to move on to and take a look at the table of contents. Now, mind you, we're not going to go through the whole, this whole book. I think I'm going to break it up into parts, um, maybe 2 or 3 parts. But I found the title very interesting, and being that he's breaking this down from a scientific perspective, this further intrigues me because I think though we may assume off its face, its face value, that we understand evil and how it works. I think this work here may reveal that we really and truly don't, because there are things that we ignore concerning the science, and it's going to bring this into perspective. Why would you find this in the Epstein files, though? Is it because maybe, and this is my own personal opinion, is that maybe it's outlining exactly what this science is and how it's practiced by people who have taken evil on as their natural, as their natural mode of life, if you will. They've chosen to do and be evil. And this is how they practice it. And this is the science that breaks that down and their way of thinking behind it. I think this is going to reveal what the Bible calls a reprobate mind. That's my opinion. I haven't gone through it yet, but I think that's what this may be leading to. But here's your table of contents. Evolution, chapter 1 deals with nature's secrets. Chapter 2, runaway desire, ravages of denial. Chapter 3, chapter 4 is wicked in waiting, and the epilogue being evillightment. That's a trip. I guess they could say that sounds like how to become enlightened by evil. I don't know, but we shall see. Let's go to the prologue. That's not a surprise to see a quote from Sigmund Freud, but we'll read it. There is, quote, "There is no such thing as eradicating evil because the deepest essence of human nature consists of instinctual impulses, which are of elementary nature and which aim at the satisfaction of certain primal needs," end quote. In your own spare time, because I would like to get to a specific part of this book that I do want to check out. I want to go through each chapter, and in your spare time, you could go through and read this prologue yourself. But this is more personal perspective from the author. So I'm going to skip over this part. Not saying that it's irrelevant. His, perspective and his experiences as the prologue or what have you are totally relevant as a preface to what is being presented. But I would like to get into the meat. All right. And we'll start here. A brief history of malice. Okay. For those of you who don't know what malice is, as a matter of fact, I'll do you one even better. We'll pull the actual definition up and we'll read it. Okay. We'll read that definition of malice. I know what it means, but for the sake of those who may not, I'm going to read it according to what the dictionary defines it as. Okay. Malice definition. And I have here the definition of malice according to Merriam-Webster dictionary. The meaning of malice is desire to cause pain, injury, or distress to another. Intent to commit an unlawful act or cause harm without legal justification or excuse. All right. So this title, A Brief History of Malice, is basically saying a brief history of one's desire to cause pain, injury, and distress to others. This is going to be very intriguing. I can see that now, but let's read. A brief history of malice. Homo sapiens, the knowing and wise animal. I want to pause there real quick, just briefly. This goes back when I see that first line, even those first two words, Homo sapiens, and thus followed up by the knowing and wise animal. It goes back to what I've always said as it pertains to my perspective of the distinction between man and human. Human being of the species Homo sapiens. Man is not of the species Homo sapiens. And human is the nature, the descent nature, if you will, of a human being is that of an animal, which is why they always make references to Homo sapiens as animals, because you are talking about the evolution of humans or Homo sapiens from an animal known as the ape or the Anthropopithecus. So I just found it kind of fitting to put that in there. You know what I mean? But anyway, reading on. Homo sapiens, the knowing and wise animal. has logged an uncontested record of atrocities despite moral norms prohibiting such actions. No other species has abducted innocent children into rogue armies and then killed those who refused to kill, tossed infants into the air as targets for shooting practice, gang raped women to force them to carry the enemy's fetus to term while destroying the souls of their powerless husbands, and mutilated and burned men to death because more humane forms of killing were less effective and enjoyable. These are horrific acts. They abound globally across the ages. That is true. Many scholars have judged them as evil. Despite the pervasiveness of these atrocities, evil is commonly perceived as a defect and unfortunate malignancy that has engulfed and metastasized within our species' essential goodness. Evil is also denied, regulated to mythology, the delusional imagination of a few madmen, the propaganda of imperialist nations, or the result of a rare mutation. Perhaps because of these impressions, we have an obsessive fascination with evil, evidenced by our fertile capacity to create and then consume films about genocide, cunning rapists, master criminals, corporate raiders, psychopaths, and serial killers. You see this very well in Hollywood today, in the movies and television shows today. They emphasize what was just stated in that last sentence I just read. That's all you see. And I've always said, and which is one of the biggest reasons why I stopped watching television years ago, because I was able to see the programming that was behind it, and I didn't like the way that it felt, for one, and two, because I was born with the gift of insight. I didn't like the way that I saw that those images work on the minds, especially of those who are weak. And for me personally, I didn't want that, in my space. So I practically cut out television altogether years ago. But that was just a little side note I wanted to throw in there. We are of two minds, wanting to hide from the atrocities of evil while feeding our insatiable appetite for more. To understand evil is neither to justify nor excuse it, reflexively converting inhumane acts into more accidents of our biology or the unfortunate consequences of bad environments. To understand evil is to open the door into its essence, to clarify its causes. In some cases, understanding may force us to exonerate the perpetrators. No, I disagree with that. I don't think, outside of the realm of ignorance, those who do know better and understand better, nah, there is no exoneration for that. Even as the Bible puts it, you know what I'm saying? Those who were ignorant would be with few stripes, which means even ignorance is not an excuse, and thus an exoneration is not warranted in the face of ignorance. That's not an excuse as well. You see what I'm saying? But to those who do know better, to them they will receive many stripes. So to excuse or exonerate perpetrators of evil, I don't see even the logic behind it. But that's my perspective. Again, these ideas that are found in this work, um, are not my sentiments or my thoughts. I'm merely just sharing this for information purposes only. All right. Moving on. In some cases, understanding many force us to exonerate the perpetrators, recognizing that they harbored significant brain damage and as a result lacked self-control or awareness of others' pain. That's very possible, but still inexcusable. Um, in other cases, understanding evil will reveal that they knowingly cause harm to innocent others, relishing the devastation left behind. By describing and understanding an individual's character with the fool, I mean, not fools, understanding an individual's character with the tools of science, we are more likely to make appropriate assignments of responsibility, blame, punishment, and future risk of society. To understand evil requires facing our species. Mind you, as it pertains to this work, um, when he says species, he's talking about the species Homo sapiens. Okay? So remember to keep that in mind. Don't make any presumptions as to the meaning. The meaning behind this work and everything stated has already laid the ground as to the meaning of this stuff. So understand he's talking about the human species, the Homo sapiens, not man, okay? Which is a different species. Man is there being the original species of the planet. So we're not talking about man. We're talking about humans. To understand to understand evil requires facing our species' sustained record of atrocities, laying out a variety of cases for inspection. Former Reverend Lawrence Murphy was responsible for over 200 instances of sexual abuse, luring innocent deaf children in with a saintly smile. Charles Manson, the illegitimate son of a 16-year-old woman and the self-proclaimed father of dozens of runaway women, was responsible for the brutal death of 5 people by means of 114 knife jabs, uh, while also prostituting his lovers, beating his wife, selling drugs, and stealing cars. Former chairman of the NASDAQ stock exchange, Bernard Madoff, was responsible for initiating a Ponzi scheme involving money laundering, perjury, and mail fraud that caused thousands of people to suffer financial ruin. Jane Toppin, born uh, Honora Kelly, was an American nurse who was responsible for killing over 30 patients by drug overdose, stating in her testimony that she experienced a sexual thrill when she held dying patients, and that her goal in life was to kill more innocent people than anyone else in history. Former military specialist Charles Granger was responsible for forcing nudity and sex among the Iraqi prisoners of Abu Ghraib, was it I'm sorry, Ghraib, putting individuals on dog leashes, depriving them of their senses with hit bags, and piling naked bodies into photograph still lifes, orchestrations that led to the ultimate humiliation and dehumanization of these prisoners. If I'm not mistaken, I believe parts of this story here was televised, if my mind serves me correctly, because I remember this was a big scandal when this came out. That last part about the Iraqi prisoners. If my mind serves me correctly, this was televised, but not all of the images were. But those images of those prisoners with leashes and those bags on their head and stuff like that, I do remember them showing those kinds of images. So if my mind serves me correctly, that part was televised. But moving on. Depending on how we think about the problem of evil, we might consider the individuals noted above as minor evildoers and not evil at all, because the harms were rather insignificant, because their goal wasn't to directly harm anyone and then enjoy the trail of damage, or because they lacked the mental capacity to assume responsibility for the atrocities committed. These individuals pale in comparison with the most ambiguously radical evildoers of the 2020 through the 21st century. The dictators, Amin, um, Francisco Franco, Adolf Hitler, Kim Jong Il, what is that? Slobodan Milosevic, Pol Pot, Joseph Stalin, Charles Taylor, and Mao Zedong. Okay. I disagree. I just wanted to put in a note. They can say whatever they want to about Mao. I've done research on him, and I guess we could do that for another class. I can actually do a whole class on him. But don't. I would say before you're led to believe all the, I guess you could say, evil hype behind him, until you understand why he took certain actions um, to save his country and ultimately his people, then most people won't, understand those actions that were taken. Because from my perspective and based on my research, uh, Mao taking the measures that he took and doing what he did for the people of China actually saved his country and saved his people. And unfortunately, it took some hard decision making for him to be able to implement some of those things, against some of his own people, because they would like to paint the picture of him being some evil dictator who hated his own people, and that's not true. That's not true. But again, we'll say that for another topic, another class. These men were responsible for the brutal deaths of approximately 80 million people combined. Most were mentally healthy, at least in terms of clinical diagnosis. Many relished their atrocities. All devised over the top means of ending lives, whether by enticing or coercing their followers to torture, gang rape, and butcher human flesh. They went beyond what was necessary to get rid of unwanted others. These are excessive harms carried out with excessive techniques. In this book, the author will not only explore these extreme cases, but more mundane ones as well. Each case helps shape our understanding of what propels some individuals to cause harm on small or large scales, while others avoid it entirely, despite temptations to the contrary. And so, the why and the how. To explain the landscape of human atrocities, from Reverend Lawrence Murphy to Mao Zedong, uh, we need an account of why we evolved this capacity and how it works. The author will explain both of these problems using the theory and evidence of science. Why? The why. Why? Evil evolved as an incidental consequence of our unique form of intelligence. All animals show highly specialized abilities to solve problems linked to survival. Honeybees perform dances to tell others about the precise location of nutritious pollen, providing an information highway that lowers the cost of individual foraging challenges. Um, Meerkats their young how to hunt dangerous but energy-rich scorpion prey, providing an education that bypassed the risk of trial and error learning. Humans unconsciously wrinkle their noses and pull back their lips into an expression of disgust that communicates information about disease-ridden and toxic substances, thereby lowering the costs of sickness to others who might be exposed. Each of these specializations involve exquisitely designed neural circuits and sensory machinery. Each specialization is used for one and only one problem, except in humans. Animal thoughts and emotions are like monogamous relationships, myopically and faithfully focused on a single problem for life. Human thoughts and emotions are like promiscuous relationships, broad minded and liberated, free to couple as new problems surface. All right. So we kind of got the gist of what this work is going to go into. All right. So I would like to start here in chapter 1. I'm just going to read the first page of it, and then I would invite anyone up who would like to discuss what has been presented so far, you could give your thoughts and we can further discuss it. And I mean, and if it calls for it, then the energy of of today's presentation calls for it, then we'll continue to go further into it as we discuss it. But moving on, chapter 1, Nature's Secrets. Nature, a quote from Albert Einstein starts out with, quote, nature hides her secrets because of her essential loftiness, but not by means of ruse, end quote. Uh, in Charles Darwin's, oh, sorry about that. In Charles Darwin's day, biologists unearthed the mysteries of evolution by means of observation, sometimes accompanied by a simple experiment. This was largely a process documenting the patterns of variation and uniformity that nature left behind. Only breeders were directly involved in manipulating these patterns, using artificial selection to alter the size, shape, coloration, and lifespan of plants and animals. The Darwins of today continue this tradition, but with new tools informed by understanding of the genetic code and aided by the technical developments in engineering, physics, chemistry, and computer science. These tools allow for deeper penetration into the sources of change and the causes of evolutionary similarities and differences. They also enable biologists to change the course of evolution and the patterns of development by turning genes off or turning novel ones on, and even creating synthetic organisms in test tubes. Wonderful playground for understanding both questions of origin, change, and extinction. The Darwins of today are cowboys trailblazing a new frontier of understanding. But like the frontier of early American Wild West, nature holds many secrets and surprises. Sometimes we break through nature's guard. We gain fundamental truths about the living world, knowledge that can be harnessed to improve animal and human welfare. But sometimes when we break through, we create toxic consequences and ethical dilemmas. Tampering with nature is risky business, as there are many hidden and unforeseen consequences. In 1999, a molecular biologist, Joe Cian, and his team at Princeton University, look him up, okay? Look him up. Team at the Princeton University tampered with Mother Nature. Their discovery, published in a distinguished scientific journal, soon filled the newspapers, radio waves, airwaves, and even a spot on Dave Letterman's late night television show. CN manipulated a gene that was known to influence memory, causing it to work over time. And I'm gonna pause right there. I think that's about to get juicy, but I think I'm gonna pause right there, and I'm gonna save that for the next presentation. Jane Topin. Let me take a look at the chat right quick because I see Poisons Puppet. Shout out to you, brother. Salute to you. He said Jane Topin, aka Honora Kelly, came out of an orphanage, an asylum. Yes. Yes. Okay. I see you're researching. That is true. That is very true. This is why I'm telling you guys to look this up, look up the people that are named and listed thus far and do your research on them. And you will find out some very intriguing things that are in connection with this work. Okay. And this information is going to help you to understand and comprehend the thinking using the science, the thinking behind why the evil, if you will, evilicious, as it's stated in this work, why it influences them to be and to do what they do and what they choose to be. Okay. So let me check the chat again. Sorry about that. Shout out to you, Charles Johnson. I see you, brother. Peace, love, and light to you, man. Uh, Okay. That looks okay. Brother Greedy, shout out to you, brother. Poison's Puppet, always salute to you. And let me see if I missed anybody. Okay. Wale, shout out to you, brother. Thank you for joining as well. And if there's anybody else that I may have missed that's in the chat, salute to all you who are here present, even the ones in the bushes. Shout out to all of you. But I wanted to point this out to you all because this is why I always emphasize that when you're doing your research, do your own research. Okay. Not saying that others who are actively out there doing the research on their own, and not saying that the information that they provide is inaccurate or wrong or whatever. I'm saying do your own research to understand the information that's presented by other people. And as it pertains to these Epstein files, I've always said it would behoove you to go through those files yourself and not just rely on conclusions made by other people who 9 times out of 10 that I found haven't even done the research themselves, haven't even gone to the website. They themselves get these pictures and these talking points from other people. You see what I'm saying? And I'm yet, because I'm going through these files, I came across this doing the research myself. I'm yet to see anybody speak about this work or even inch any way close to it, which leads to me to believe the people that's claim to be doing the research can't really be doing that research. Because if you really were, you would come across works like this. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, we tend to go into researching information like this from a biased mindset. You know what I'm saying? Most of us, when these files got released, the very first thing we typed in that search bar was Donald Trump. You don't think that that was forecasted, that most people would do that? Because all of the hype is surrounding him and the Epstein files, which would lead you to think that, things that are of much more importance, like this work here that I'm sharing with you, you see what I'm saying, remains to be, though in plain sight, very well hidden because you're preoccupied with the politics and all of that, if you will, thinking that the politics are the root when the science is the root. You see what I'm saying? If you want to understand how these people think behind the actions that they choose to take, especially concerning our babies and these children, man, we need to understand the thinking of such people. Okay? So I just want to share that part with you guys. And then I got one more phrase that I want to type in the search bar. Now, again, I typed in Puff Daddy and to be honest with you, when I typed in Puff Daddy, I know his name is P. Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Today, he calls himself P. Diddy. But I had no intentions on really trying to find P. Diddy in the Epstein files specifically. I was just typing in, just words. I'm just experimenting with this and just typing in, just phrases just to see what I would come across. And I just happened to think Puff Daddy. I typed it in and I came across, I'll show this again, these 3 links. Okay. And the one that I was able to find, the work Evilicious, was this 3rd one. Okay. Now I did type, I did click on these because as you can see here, here's a YouTube link in this data set that shows LL Cool J's Big Mama, another YouTube link, Wendy from Peter Pan, Your Mother Mine. And, it's, if you want to, we can take a look at it. We can take a look at it because I haven't been active on it. It had to be turned. Okay, there we go. It's an email from Gregory Brown to undisclosed recipients. There's the Gmail address. There's the inline images. And here's the email itself. Another tool of the American oligarchy. Now, the oligarchy, now that sounds very familiar because, at least for me, I remember Brother Taj Tariq Bey speaking about this, the oligarchy here in America. You see what I'm saying? And the politics that's behind it. Okay. So that there's a connection there. And, you know, there have been already people, pioneers out here that have been telling us about these things long before these files were released. So shout out to those people who were behind the scenes doing the work and were able to uncover this long before the evidence was even presented. Shout out to all of you. But anyway, back to this specific email, another tool of American oligarchy, how ghost corporations are funding the 2016 election. See, this is being revealed going back to the 2016 election, and it's referencing ghost corporations. 2 days before Christmas, a trust called DE First Holdings, type that in, was quietly formed in Delaware, where corporations are required to reveal little about their workings. And that is very true, which is why you find most of your corporations, mainly specifically ghost corporations, they are filed in, formed and filed in the state of Delaware, but they don't operate outside of that state. You see what I'm saying? But the corporation is filed and formed there. It's on record there. You see what I'm saying? But they actually may do business in another state. But this is why. Because they don't have to, they don't have to reveal all of their workings, which is a loophole that's being taken advantage of. Okay? Reading on. A day later, the entity dropped $1 million into a super PAC with ties to Jersey City. I don't know why they crossed out the state there, but the information concerning where that is, okay, ties to Jersey City. The mayor, Stephen Fulop, if you look him up, it'll reveal that he was the mayor of Jersey City, and that state will be revealed. I don't know why they blocked that out. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, a Democrat considering gubernatorial bid. The trust, whose owner remains unknown, is part of a growing cater of mystery outfits financing big money super PACs. Many were formed just days or weeks before making sick. Individuals behind the ghost corporations appear to face little risk of reprisal from a deeply polarized federal election commission, which recently deadlocked on whether to even investigate such cases. Many of the biggest super PAC donors have spread around their money, financing multiple super PACs that back presidential hopefuls and congressional candidates, fortunes made in the energy industry, okay, on Wall Street and in healthcare. So this reveals how even the very foundation of the country, as pertains to healthcare, investments, Wall Street, and even the energy industry, have all been compromised. Okay, and how that is. The Washington Post, reading on, the Washington Post tracked donations made through ghost corporations whose backers cannot be identified. See a list below of ghost corporations, corporate contributors to super PACs who have not yet been publicly linked to individual donors. Let's take a look at that. The top donors and ghost corporations. Here we are. Well, of course, it looks very blurred. Of course, that is very blurred. And that's not my computer. That's the way this document looks. I think it wouldn't even do us good to even zoom in type deal, but I mean, I can to see if we could make some of it out, but I can barely make that out, even with my, even with my good eyesight. You can kind of make some names out here and there, but and you think that's by, by accident? Nah, it's by design. Because you could easily do the research, you know what I mean, and make the connections. But there's your list. And I imagine if you do some independent research based on the information provided in this email, then you would be able to get that list with no problem. But it would just take you to do some digging. So I highly suggest that you do the digging if you want to know. Okay. Advocates for stronger campaign finance enforcement fear there will be even more pop-up limited liability companies, LLCs, funneling money into independent groups, making it difficult to discern the identities of wealthy players seeking to influence this year's presidential and congressional contest. Now, we're talking about the year of 2016. Okay? That's what we're talking about. This was Trump's first term. So this reveals that they were trying to railroad him from getting in office via this type of activity before he even got into a position, you see what I'm saying, to win that seat. At least that's what I'm seeing from this. The 2016 campaign has already seen the highest, or you know what, let me backtrack. Or I could be wrong, and this could be all in place and working for the interests of Donald Trump too. You see what I'm saying? That could be why it's in place as well. It could be there to work against him, or it could have been in place to work in his favor. That I don't know. But again, this is based on my own perception of what I'm getting out of it. Because it didn't say specifically which candidate. It just said the 2016 campaign. So it could have gone for either presidential candidate. You know what I'm saying? But the 2016 campaign has already seen the highest rate of corporate donations since the Supreme Court unleashed such spending with its 2010 Citizens United versus FEC decision. Go to Google Scholar, okay, and type in the case law. Click on case law and type in the search bar Citizens United v. FEC. Study that case and then cross-reference it with this information here that's being provided. 1 out of every $8 collected by super PACs this election cycle have come from corporate coffers, including millions flowing from opaque and hard to trace entities, according to the Washington Post analysis of federal campaign finance filings. So, and here's that list. This seems to be a bit more clear, so we can look at this. You can make Children of Israel LLC. Somebody look that up. Type that in and look that up. A donation of $250,000 was made from that LLC. Okay. Decor Services LLC, another $250,000. Freedom Frontier, another $250,000. These so far that I've listed so far, the recipients of this money went to the Republican side of it. Okay. So it does look like, based on what's revealed on this Ghost Corporations list, that these monies looks to influence more of the Republican side, which is Donald Trump's side, than it did the Democratic. And that blue one right here, that's the Democratic one. That one received $100,000 from a corporation in New York, TA Group Services. But it seems that everybody else, those donations went to the Republican recipient. So you guys can take a look at this, screenshot it if you will, and do your own research. Okay? I highly recommend that. All right? And I'll stop that right there. You can always go and further do the research on your own, which is what I highly recommend. Okay? And we'll leave out of here and we'll take a look at the second one. Under Puff Daddy. Let's do that one again. There's the second one. Let's take a look at that one. Okay. Here's another email from Gregory Brown to undisclosed recipients. Okay. Dear friend, on this past Friday, New York, U.S. District Judge Naomi Rice Butchwald dismissed a substantial portion of claims facing a number of banks in a barrage of lawsuits accusing them of interest rate rigging commodities, manipulating the London interbank offered rate, commonly known as LIBOR. Everyone on Wall Street knows that these banks are guilty of these charges, especially after several defendants have already paid billions of dollars in penalties to government regulatory agencies here in the US and in the UK. In a 161-page opinion, Butchwald said unlike government agencies, private plaintiffs needed to meet many requirements under the statutes to bring a case. Okay? 3 banks have reached settlements with authorities to date. Most recently, Royal Bank of Scotland Group, PLC, agreed to pay $612 million to US and British authorities. UBS AG agreed in December to pay $1.5 billion. Barclays agreed to pay $453 million in June. Other defendants facing private lawsuits include Citigroup Inc., Credit Suisse Group AG, Deutsche Bank AG, HSBC Holdings PLC, Royal Bank of Scotland, West LB AG, and Royal Bank of Canada, among others. See, and this, what this reveals? A lot of people are so focused on the people they put in front of our face on the screen. And they think the gist, if you will, or the majority of the files has everything to do with those people that they put in front of us to focus on. And when we do that, we don't see information like this. We don't see the big players behind the scenes. You see what I'm saying? I don't see anybody, not saying that people aren't. I just haven't come across anybody presenting the Epstein files in this manner and revealing these different groups and ghost corporations and stuff like that, and showing how they play a huge part in what's taking place concerning these Epstein files. Okay? Reading on. I'm going to read a little bit more and we'll move on. More than a dozen banks and brokerages are under investigation by regulators for manipulating benchmark rates such as LIBOR, which have been the basis for more than $550 trillion in financial products. Man, you know how much money that is? $550 trillion. So when you're talking about billionaires like, Donald Trump and other multimillionaires and people that they put in front of you to focus on, these people are but a drop in the bucket concerning these different groups that we just read, these different banks and groups that are doing this type of work behind the scenes that's not being televised. 550 trillion, not billion, trillion dollars in financial products, man. Reading on. O.J. Simpson is currently in prison on less evidence. Either Judge Butchwald is on the take or she rose to a different drummer for her to not know that these big banks, financial institutions, skirt the rule of law with obfuscation and complexity, as well as shell game of movable parts of now you see it, now you don't, without impunity. This ruling is shameful and will probably receive little notice by mainstream media and public. Just as I just said, they're not televising this. I don't see your various social media content creators talking about this. I don't. At least I haven't come across the ones that are, if there are any, that are going into these files like this and revealing this. They too busy showing you pictures of people who are on the island and a list of people who are, but still that doesn't, okay, but proof of them being there doesn't prove wrongdoing. But it's not until you get into the logistics and the details that name these different organizations by name. And mind you, you can do research on these different organizations and pull up the players who are connected to these people. And it's that simple. And that's what you have to, that's what we have to start doing, to start unveiling the things that are being hidden. And I agree, the ruling is shameful. How could you overlook all of this evidence and come to the ruling that you came to? And these masters of the universe can celebrate this Easter holiday weekend in their $20 million vacation homes in Aspen, Courchevel, Palm Beach, and St. Bart's. Shout out to Palm Beach, man. I like West Palm Beach County. I ain't even gonna lie. It's, Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Oh wow. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. You can hear me? You can hear me? Poison Puppet, you said there you go. Can you hear me? Mic check. Put a 1 in the chat for me, Poison Puppet, if you can hear me. I did not realize that my mic had gone out. Mic check. Oh man. Mic check, mic check. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Poison Puppet. I appreciate that. Oh man, I just gave that whole presentation. Oh man, I just gave that whole presentation on let me go back to sharing my screen. Because I was talking that whole time and giving this information, and I can't believe that. Wow. I cannot believe that. That's wow. I just gave that whole presentation and said what I said about what I found on the Epstein files when I typed in the key phrase Adolf Hitler, and I don't know how much of that y'all heard, if you heard any of it, but again, without going through the whole thing again, hopefully me showing what I showed on the screen will be enough, even though people didn't hear me say what I did say. Hopefully that would be enough for people to take a look at what was presented and do their due diligence in studying. And I want to at least reiterate this part again. As it pertains to these files, I'm going to be doing multiple streams, going through these Epstein files. Okay. And we're going to be using keywords and phrases that most people aren't thinking to use. And hopefully we'll find, that much more information that's going to bring this stuff together. There's no fear mongering involved. I'm not trying to take this information and paint a certain picture just to appease an audience. I'm just presenting the information as it's provided by the United States Department of Justice on their website about the Epstein files. Okay. And I think it would do us, a great good to actually go through these files live and as they, they're presented and posted on the website. So I would highly recommend that you all do your own research and not fall into the fear mongering or even the hype of the different pictures that people are showing, and whether they're found on the files or not. If they are, I would suggest that you go into the files yourself, do your own research, okay, and come to your own conclusion, and not allow any, content creator or anything like that, whether found on YouTube or any of your various social media platforms, to paint a certain picture. Because I think there is an effort, though these files have been released, I think there's an effort to keep the people from finding certain things that have been released. So that would then entail that you're able to connect the dots as to what's been really going on. And they've, when I say they, I'm talking about those who are responsible for releasing the files. They've done their part in releasing the files, but I think they've released them in such a squalor of all the other information, it could discourage other people. It could discourage most people from actually researching and going through the files themselves to find all of this information that's been released. And I'm thinking that's by design. I think that's the intent, and it's to keep you from finding the things that I pointed out thus far on the website here today, just using the two keywords, Puff Daddy, and another one, Adolf Hitler. And when using Adolf Hitler, man, I came across, we just came across seeing the different associations and the different organizations that were in place and received funding and grants from various other different organizations with unrevealed and unnamed investors and those who are financing these different organizations. And I think the people that are named are the people who will ultimately be the fall people, who are ultimately taking the fall, because they're the ones that are on Front Street. You know what I mean? But I highly recommend that you continue to do your research with these files, as we will continue to do on our next live stream. So you guys stay tuned in, man. Stay tapped in. I do apologize for my audio going out earlier. I did not know that it had gone out, but it doesn't surprise me either, because when you get to talking about subjects like this and you start going into depth, you know what I mean, all of a sudden there's problems now with the audio when you get to speaking on certain things. But that's neither here nor there. But hopefully I presented some information here that was very useful to you, and it brought some perspective as it pertains to these Epstein files and various emails that you find there. So what I will do too, if anybody wants to come up, I will. Give me 1 second. I will drop the link here. I don't know if it's already pinned or not, but I don't think it is. But I'll drop the link here. That link I just dropped is to the Epstein files. This next link I'm going to drop is to, if anybody wants to come up and discuss the information that I've just provided. The link is on the, but you know what? Let me see if I can copy that, and then I'll paste it in there. Yeah, there we go. All right, there's the link to join if anybody wants to join, and we can discuss what was presented so far. And if you want to, we can go through some of the things again. If you choose to come up and you want to discuss it, some of the things where my audio went out, and we can go back over it, if you want. But I'll play a song or two. And if no one comes up, then I'll end the stream here. And until next time, I appreciate you all tapping in. My stomach is growling. I need to give me something to eat. All right, let's do this. Do some King Azir.
Open your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. And the most in the end, we don't all die. Open your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. Cause in the end, we don't all die. No, I hope you know who your enemy is. And if you scared to die in pain, you probably living in fear. Every time we see the news, somebody's shit getting spilled. Man, it's real. On this side, they don't forget to forgive. So how you feel about the presidents and all the evidence? They devilish. When we coming together to settle this, you don't understand the problems or the pain that I see. It's like I still see my ancestors hanging from trees. Still fighting for their life or either dying for their rights. And here we are the present day, still trying to get it right. The system still taking lives, they want us to stay confined. We living but ain't alive. Spiritual genocide, pick a side, who you riding for? Make a decision and don't switch it when it's time for war. It's now or never, tell them. Be more aware and start using your mind, because it's time, ain't no room for the blind. You see the Open signs. Your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. Cause in the end, we don't all die. Open your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. Cause in the end, we don't all die. No, they trying to trap dreams and give us them back. They want control, but that's never told on the rap scene. Cause they a part of agendas trying to starve us and kill us. Gotta stay on guard for pretenders, cause I'm far from submissive. Listen, before I live in the cage, I'd rather die. Come for mine, I'm going out in the blaze, letting them fly. Cause inside you be counting your days, barely alive. To survive, you gotta quiet the rage that's in your mind. I run with soldiers that's focused and true inside, unified. See the world in the scope through a student's eye, yeah. Cause it's a lot of y'all moving like enemies. Call me bro, but on the low they wanna do you like Kennedy, literally. Understand that it's a war on us all, and it'll never go away unless we grow and evolve. So here I stand, feel it, still with this vision, you can't kill it. When they sound the alarm, I hope you hear it. Open your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. Cause in the end, we don't all die. Open your eyes and walk with me. Take a journey through the dark with me. If it go down, will you spark with me? Fight until your heart empty. Nothing to lose, that's my war cry. Cause in the end, we don't all die. No.
Hey, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Hope you get hopefully the information that you about today. Very useful. That's the next time. We'll promote these files. We'll be doing so live. We're gonna put to rest any and all speculations, all the fear mongering, all of the different narratives that people standing behind what they allegedly found in the files. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do our due diligence. That's what we're gonna do, our due diligence, and we're gonna continue to do so. All right, until we meet again. Study well, stay live, stay strong, and always stay hungry for the truth that is. Peace.